A lot of this story is conveyed in these incredibly well-edited montages, and it tells us so much about where this character is and what phase he's headed into in his life. So I'd love to know, from an acting standpoint, how did you map out exactly how to convey those things when so much is dependent on post-production in those sequences?
I'm pretty aware of Jean-Marc's style, and with Crazy or Café de Fleur and the movies that he's made previously, he has a very particular way of, he started off as an editor, and even in his style of shooting the movie, there's a very editorial kind of, there's a way in which he shoots, an agility, and sort of, you can feel him getting pieces and cutting the scene as he goes. So, I almost relied on the fact that he was going to be doing that, because so much of my character was not emoting himself, and I really rely on the filmmaker, and I knew I was going to rely on the filmmaker to be able to express the internal journey of this character. So I am also, I love watching the process of how a movie is made, and there was always kind of an understanding that I don't really believe in continuity. I don't really believe in, the only thing I really believe is emotional continuity. So in that way, Jean-Marc and I were like simpatico.
I love that. And this movie was shot in sequence, which I imagine would be incredibly helpful. Could you talk a bit about expressing this character's arc? Because it really is incredible. On the one hand, he starts off not feeling things, he's emotionally stunted. But then we see how liberated he is in demolishing things, dancing, and feeling pain at a certain point. And I think it's lovely to watch.
I would say that the only thing that needs to be in sequence in a movie is the script and then eventually the movie. I don't always find that it helps, actually, to move in sequence, at least for me. Because if you can keep the order of a movie in your head, which is not so hard if you know it well enough and you've prepared, then you can actually discover kind of interesting things and colors as you go when they're out of order. But in terms of the discovery, I did move towards a place that I really loved in the movie. As we got closer and closer, as a crew, and as I got closer to Jean-Marc, I think as I got more vulnerable with him, I think the character got more vulnerable. And it is sort of the way I start some journeys myself, which is just maybe a little bit held back, and then as I get to know somebody and trust them, move in, as every relationship is, I think. And so it mimicked that, and that was pretty beautiful.
And I love that Jean-Marc, he allows a lot to be born on set. He, like emotions are, he kind of surprises you and says, okay, we're going to shoot this right now, and things like that. What did you discover in those moments? I love the scenes where you and Naomi Watts' character are on the beach in Coney Island, and it's very expressive, and of course the dance sequences, like I said.
Yeah. I love that. That is how I work, I try and create that even when there's absolute structure on a set, I try and create a sense of freedom and create my own space. I think the one thing I hate the most is when an actor cuts themselves, says like, cut, cut, cut in the middle of a take. Usually when you're moving towards somewhere uncomfortable, somewhere that you didn't plan out, is when magic really happens. And Jean-Marc happens to be a filmmaker that just does that. He's like, he embraces that every step of the way. And so again, like, it was a meeting of the minds.
What music were you listening to throughout?
This weird mix that he gave me, I wish you were here so you could ask him, because I really don't know the songs that he gave me. I was just listening to these crazy songs and just dancing to them.